Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. They took advantage of our OP's kindness, but after 5 months, it's time to literally cut the cord. It's a lot of nerve to use your neighbor's electricity for so long. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. I caused a mass quitting. I was done with the company as they cut our pay to avoid laying off anyone, but then we posted record profits, but they didn't increase our salaries or give us the 10% bonuses everyone was promised. 20% of the department already quit, but I was hanging on a bit, hoping to ride in out until next year. Then the boss yelled at an intern for asking to go home early and have time off because her mom just called her to tell her cat was dying and to go straight to the vets. She wanted a few days off, and the boss basically told her cats were animals and she wasn't allowed to request time off unless it was a human dying. He was supposed to discuss it in private, but decided to just go to a corner of the office where my team overheard him. She was crying and grabbed her stuff and ran out of the office. I sent a company-wide email, which is standard, saying I was quitting and highlighted the interaction between the boss and the intern, though I didn't name names, as the main reason. Then immediately, like 10 people emailed me back to ask who the manager was, and to avoid leaving a trace, I told them in person, and within a few days, most people knew. I work IT, where finding a new job now is really easy, and tons of friends would offer me referrals into their companies immediately. I found another job within the 2 weeks, and I'm starting on Monday. There's been over 24 people sending quitting emails, and now the company's shutting down people's emails a few days before they leave so they can't send goodbye emails and link their LinkedIns or phone numbers, so current employees can't find them to piggyback to the next company. The boss came to berate me as he was being disciplined and might lose his job. I don't feel sorry for him because he's a jerk, but his family's going to be hard hit because he doesn't have any marketable skills other than PowerPoint. That boss is reaping what he sowed. Treat people like garbage, and they leave. And our second story. My husband's trip to the store. My husband works 12-hour night shifts and likes to go get all the grocery shopping after he gets off at about 6 or 7 a.m. There's a lot of sales on meat at the time. That's really good. He was wearing a black and red shirt that was his old uniform from his previous job. The workers wear all black. He got all the things he needed, but then his card was declined at the register, so he tried calling the bank, but they weren't open. The store was kind enough to put his whole card in the fridge while he ran to the bank to try and withdraw money, but the bank was apparently under construction. He kept calling, trying to figure out what was wrong, as the bank itself wasn't even open until 10 a.m., and finally got a hold of someone who told him all the cards were deactivated due to some suspicious activities, and they'd already sent him new ones. He came back to the house, looked through the mail, they were in his truck the whole time, and headed back to the store. It's now 8:30 a.m. He has to go to sleep by 9 in order to be well rested for his next 12-hour shift, so he was cranky. Back at the store, his cart's already bagged up, and he was able to check out quickly. He started pushing past the other registers, and one lady he was passing glared at him and said, "Finally," and started walking out with him. He ignored it and just kept going. He called me on the phone to tell me everything was fixed, and she glared at him. But when he stopped at his truck and started putting the bags in, she flipped out on him. We'll call the lady CB for Crazy B, because that's what he kept calling her when he was telling me the story. CB: "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Him: "Excuse me?" Me on the phone: "What?" CB: "My car's over here." Him: "Okay." CB: "Put the bags in my car." Him: "You're out of your GD mind." Me: "What's going on?" CB then apparently tries to grab the bags he's already put in the truck out, and my husband grabs her arm and pushes her away. He has a really strong grip and doesn't know his strength too well. He once brushed me when I started to fall over once, and he caught me, and she started screaming for help. 2 guys who were out bring carts inside heard and came over. My husband told me he'd call me back and hung up. The guys asked what's going on, and CB said my husband was trying to steal her food. One guy ran inside to get help, while the other told them both not to move. My husband was tired and very cranky and didn't listen and kept putting bags in the truck. The cart guy didn't try to stop him, because my husband looks very scary, even though I don't see it, and the lady complained that he had assaulted her and she wanted the cops called to press charges. The second cart guy finally showed up with the manager and security. Manager: "What's going on?" CB: "Your bagger is trying to steal my food." Manager: "He doesn't work here. Do you have a receipt for what you bought?" CB hands him the long receipt, and manager takes a quick glance at my husband's bags. All his bags have frost on them from sitting in the fridge. The manager was also the guy who put the cart in there for him. Manager: "These things belong to this man." Husband is finishing loading up and not caring about the conversation. "We don't let our baggers carry out bags for people unless they're elderly or disabled anyway." CB starts flipping out and then starts saying my husband hit her, but manager saw on the cameras beforehand that she had been trying to forcefully take things out of his truck, so knew it wasn't true. CB starts whining and asks where her stuff was, and manager said it was probably still where she left it in the store. My husband got in his truck, put it in reverse, and waited for them to move. CB didn't want to move until my husband just started backing out towards her and the manager moved her. He said that he could see her throwing a fit, complete with stomping the ground and waving her arms around like you expect a toddler to do. He called me back and told me what happened. He sounded so annoyed on the phone, but then didn't care once he got home. He ended up going straight to sleep, leaving me to put all the food up. People are crazy. How daft can you be to leave your cart behind and somehow think that someone's stealing it, all while leaving it behind? And our next story. Do what you want with them. Take them home and use them as coasters if you like. Before Netflix came to Australia, there was a little company that decided to corner the market, very unsuccessfully. While they've changed their model to be chiefly online streaming, I worked there back in the day when it was discs in the mail. Arrive at 7:30, scan incoming discs back into the system, have lunch, pack discs out. During this time, I had the strangest manager I've ever known anybody to have. Let's call him Salmon. Salmon would sleep at the office. We found pizza boxes and wine bottles in the fire hydrant case and would confront people for no reason, only to cry when they told him how ridiculous he was. It was a common sight to see him with teary eyes in his office doing nothing. Many incidences of malicious compliance took place, mainly because of Salmon's chronic micromanaging habits. He would stand behind a worker for upwards of half an hour, then force them to change their disk scanning method to something far less efficient, which would be obliged, and his failure would be clear to see in the numbers. Cue tears. He was only kept on because of the insane amount of unpaid overtime he would rack up by basically living at the office. In one case, though, he was on our side. We were instructed to remove all of the protective cardboard from the disc sleeves because we were going to use a new sorting system for our discs that was much faster. Now we would receive an obscene amount of broken discs daily, and we were not buying these movies at discount prices. One friend of mine was in the buying department, and we would sometimes pay more than our RP just to get new releases, and we'd get maybe 3 out of 20 discs back damaged. It was plain to see that this wasn't working, and to take out that cardboard was just a crazy notion. But Blu-rays are stronger than DVDs, and the state manager rocked in and triumphantly bent a Blu-ray in front of us to prove this fact. Later, we found it to be warped and unusable. Our arguments went unheard. We proceeded to waste thousands of dollars in man-hours removing these pieces of cardboard. When we asked what to do with them, we were told, "Do what you want with them. Take them home and use them as coasters if you like." Salmon pleaded with the upper management not to do this on our behalf and on his own, as he couldn't take all the jokes we were making. As we pulled out the cardboard and stacked it high, he would wander around anxiously taking down our piles and running away with them. The ones he missed were thrown directly into recycling bins. I must have spent 50 hours of my life just throwing away cardboard squares. Fast forward to 2 months later, and we're receiving 10 out of 20 discs back broken. And not just small cracks, like in pieces, and a whole lot of very angry letters. Even a plume of pubic hair once. State manager sends an email, and from a safe place, "It's time to put the cardboard back in." Oh no, we threw it all away. Or so we thought. Salmon comes in the next day with 2 massive bags of cardboard he took home, and I guess stored until this moment. He cried shortly after, though, when he found out that the company had bought an overstock of a new, thinner cardboard, which was too thin to protect the discs and didn't fix the problem at all. And we said so. to deaf ears. Must have spent 50 hours of my life putting useless cardboard squares in DVD cases. Good times. And our last story. I cut off my neighbor's electricity. These neighbors across the street are actually squatters. For those of you who don't know, this means they're basically living illegally in an abandoned house. It's a couple who've been homeless for a while and have treated us kindly ever since we met. We've tried to assist them with more permanent resources for a while, but nothing has stuck. Got them an Airbnb for the weekend when a previous place they squatted burnt down, hooked them up with community resources, etc. A couple months ago, they asked if they could run an extension cord across the street and use our power at night to run a fan because it was so hot. This was in July. We were hesitant because of how it would look and the risk of the cord ripping, but we didn't feel like this was a strong enough reason to say no to something that would drastically change their living conditions. So we said yes, with the condition that it was only at night and they unplug in the AM. Fast forward a couple of months and the cord's still getting run across the street to use our power even as it's getting cold. All we ask is that they unplug it in the morning, which they rarely do. We tried talking to them about it, that this isn't the conditions we agreed upon, and they said they would do better. But it always falls back into the same thing. Most days we end up unplugging it and walking it over. We still feel the same, that it's not that big of an inconvenience for us and such a big difference for them. But we don't appreciate the lack of respect and how out of hand it's getting. We also don't want to enable them to not find better living conditions because this 100% isn't a permanent solution. We weren't sure how to tell them we want this to stop. It was going on for 5 months, well into the chilly season, and didn't want to risk in any way making enemies. So we ended up cutting the power to the outside outlet and pretending that the wires got messed up. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.